Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jesse Krieger, and this is the Business in a Weekend webinar, the 5 things you must know to build a successful lifestyle entrepreneur business. Over the next 30 to 40 minutes, I'm going to share with you some of my best ideas on how to build an online business you can run from anywhere in the world with little more than a laptop and an internet connection that supports a lifestyle of freedom and opportunity. This next 30 to 40 minutes is really for people who are looking to be more passionate and engaged with their work. People who are really ready to integrate their interests more fully into their lifestyle, and people who feel called to start a business of their own. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in Business in a Weekend and on this webinar. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about me and my story over the next 30 to 40 minutes. And I'm going to be sharing the 5 things that will move the needle for you right away that you can take from this call and apply to your own life and career today. I'm also going to be talking about an opportunity to work with me in my Business in a Weekend virtual bootcamp program, the 100% no-fail system to start any business idea in 72 hours for under $1,000. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Now, if you haven't met me already, again, my name is Jesse Krieger, and for the last 10 years or so, I've been launching businesses in a variety of industries while spending 3, 4, or more months a year traveling abroad, exploring my own interests and passions in creative and engaging ways. And in the last 2 years, I've become an international best-selling author with my book, Lifestyle Entrepreneur, which you all got a copy of when you registered for this call, and I hope you've been enjoying it. And since then, I've really made the leap into coaching aspiring entrepreneurs to take control of their lifestyle and career by building businesses based on their interests and passions. And so here you can see is a picture of me at the book launch for Lifestyle Entrepreneur last fall in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and across Southeast Asia, and that's my publishing team. And here's a couple of pictures of traveling around the region, meeting some dynamic, aspiring entrepreneurs and really fascinating people, getting the chance to speak on stages and at book fairs, and really getting to shake some hands and sign some books and have a lot of fun in the process. And, after promoting the book for a solid month or so, I was wonderfully surprised to wake up one day and find out that we'd become the #2 business bestseller in one of the largest bookstore chains in Southeast Asia, Popular Books. So there you can see Lifestyle Entrepreneur ranked #2, and even a picture of it sitting on the bookshelf there. And there I am at a book signing down in the lower left corner. And from the success of the book, my business, Lifestyle Entrepreneurs Academy, was born, where we have run programs around the world from Montreal to Las Vegas, from Stockholm to San Francisco, and everywhere in between in Europe and Asia and across the US and North America, teaching and training people how to build online businesses and really embrace a lifestyle of travel and opportunity. And it's been a great run and a very fun ride. I want to share with you a quick story of one of the earlier clients that I had worked with in Lifestyle Entrepreneurs Academy when we were kicking this all off last year. And that's Maddie Davis. And he's a quick story of how Maddie Davis became a lifestyle entrepreneur. So when we met, Maddie was working underground in an Australian diamond mine in the outback of Australia, hundreds of feet underground, and just couldn't have been more dissatisfied with where he was at in life. And so I'll have a quick video clip of him working actually underground, because I was like, well, tell me a little bit about what your life is like now as we get into this project. So I'll show you that 10-second clip or so now. You can see him releasing some water. This is his drill. He's got a notebook from the project notes, because we were actually building his business in between these 10-hour stints of working underground. And then the story is that we took him from working underground in the mines of Australia to traveling the world, running his business on a laptop. And there he looks much happier in Paris, front of the Eiffel Tower and at the Louvre. And so what did we actually do? Well, let's take a look at the business that we built for him. So Maddie Davis is a guy that liked to party and socialize, drink and have a good time. And so he wanted to build a business that would really amplify that part of his life, reflect it. And what we did was we ultimately honed in on a product type called stubby holders, which is an Australian way to say drink coolers, or these sort of foam inserts where you can hold beers and drinks. And so I want you to notice a couple things here. The whole strategy, and one of the whole parts of this business in a weekend and lifestyle entrepreneurship, is really focusing in on a niche. And in this case, getting a domain name by stubbyholders.com.au that put them right in front of people online at the time that they were looking to purchase wholesale quantities of these stubby holders. So this market is all about people that go to conferences, trade shows, or bachelor parties, where people are ordering 100 or 500 or more custom branded stubby holders. And also for businesses like, Guinness or other drink brands that want to have their own branded drink holders as well. So you can see this picture of him on the left is actually a glove that's got a drink holder attached to it. And that was just branded with stubby holder wholesaler. And so one of the strategies to drive traffic to his site was to build a social media presence and really engage with people around the world. So what we did then was built this Facebook page that promotes his brand and built it up to now over 7,700 likes, and offers, one has a link directly to a site, and then also features a product catalog, a way to get a quote right away, and some discount coupons for anybody that finds him through this Facebook channel. So we actually went from him working underground in an Australian diamond mine to being able to travel the world selling drink coolers in wholesale quantities from his laptop. And he's even got one there in the profile picture of his own face. So I think he's kicking back, drinking a beer, looking at himself on his own product. So it's kind of fun. And so we talked about sort of how people can become a lifestyle entrepreneur, but really, what is a lifestyle entrepreneur and what's it all about? From my perspective, it's about seeing the world as both your playground and your potential addressable market. And so this is just another shot from the book launch, where in the same day I was exploring the Batu Caves outside of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, with some friends that were visiting. And later in the day, going in to give a talk at a bookstore and seeing lifestyle entrepreneur positioned right next to some of my heroes, Steve Jobs and Stephen Covey, on a bookshelf. And so, my perspective on business and in life in general is such that you don't have to choose between having fun and making money, and ideally combining them and amplifying those things you're interested in and passionate about to build a business or any number of brands that reflect and amplify the things that you really love and the message that you want to get out to the world, or the products that you have a vision for. So let's look at it a little bit closer and say, well, what is a lifestyle entrepreneur? From my perspective, it's somebody that builds businesses based on your interests and passions that support a lifestyle of freedom and opportunity. And this is about the most concise way that I can describe it. But if you think about how you could leverage the things that you're interested in, whether it's languages or international travel, cooking or yoga, and turn that into a business that generates an income, makes an impact, but also supports a lifestyle of freedom and opportunity, well, that's something that I think is really worth going for. And it can be a whole lot of fun. So I've told you a little bit about where I am today and some of the work that I do, but I want to take a quick trip back to the start, and then we're going to jump right into the 5 things you must know to build your own successful lifestyle entrepreneur business. So this is me back at age 15, long before I ever became a business person. And this is my first band. I've got my Stratocaster there, and I think that's a 4-track tape recorder. So long before I ever became interested in business, my main passion in life was music, and electric guitar in particular. And that was all I really wanted to do. I'd leave high school early, or, cut class and go home and learn Jimi Hendrix licks and practice with my band. I said, I really got to make a go at this because I believed in it so much. And so over the course of a number of years, sort of skipping the whole story of what came in between being 15 and age 20, 21, the first entrance into business for me was through the filter of my band, which was Harsh Krieger. And next to me there, that's actually me on the left in a little bit tighter clothes and a little longer hair than I have now, in our band Harsh Krieger. And we were playing out and starting to build a name for ourselves. And so I got into business through this filter, in the sense that we'd got our band to the point where there was sort of a fork in the road. On the one hand, we could have signed a record deal and sort of signed over creative control for our business and our artistic direction, but that sounded almost like having a job. On the other hand, we saw we could create our own record label and take control of our career, and yes, take on a little bit more responsibility, but ultimately be able to drive the direction of our band forward in the way that we saw fit. So I actually became an entrepreneur by starting a record label and, quote, signing our own band in the process. From there, we raised some money and hired a team, a manager, booking agents, and actually were able to record and get our album and our music out to the world. And this is back in 2004 and 5. And so a takeaway, and something you may be able to apply, is, there was a lot of learning experiences and highs and lows and a lot of obstacles we had to overcome. But when I look back at it, I'd say that striving towards peak experiences form the memories that you really will cherish. And when I look back, I don't think of the hard times as much as I do the fact that we were able to get our music out and have the #1 independent rock song in the US. And we had our music on over 300 radio stations nationwide, got 9 songs on MTV, and had our music on such TV shows as The Real World and Road Rules. And this actually was a pretty profitable we made more money on that than almost anything else, because every time those TV shows air and your music is a part of it, you get broadcast royalties. So all the replays, when it gets released on DVD, we actually made quite a bit of money off of that. Got to tour the country 2 times, and ultimately have a really awesome experience. After you see on the left here, name is on the marquee at Viper Room on Sunset, and go to a party in Hollywood after putting in all of the work, and 2,000 miles from where we were living in Nashville, get to party in Hollywood, really coming full circle and sort of realizing the distance we had come as a band, and having it feel all the more rewarding for having built our own record label and business in the process. And so from there, I really became interested in business outside of just music, and said, well, what else can I do that will both allow me to travel and have fun and make money? And so I became a consultant and was flown to Cairo to consult on the development of a school from a business and financial perspective. There's me in Hong Kong doing a quick photo op before I visited a factory that I was working with in China for a USB flash drive business that I built. And below, a picture in Beijing in between stops doing business in Southeast Asia, where I was studying Chinese and putting that into practice, and also running a couple of products business where we had products made in China and Southeast Asia and shipped to customers all over the world. And we're going to talk more about how to structure your business like that in just a minute. And so I would ask now, for you that are on this call, what would you do if money were no object? And I think it's a really valid question, because, a lot of times we look at business and say, well, what can I do to make money? And the answer is almost anything. I mean, you can actually make money doing yoga, or, sweeping streets, or running a hedge fund. But if you then think one step further, what would I do with that money? And what would I be doing if my time was my own and money wasn't an issue? Because it ultimately cost much less than you think. And so part of becoming a lifestyle entrepreneur is jumping to the end and saying, well, what would I be doing in an ideal case, in my idealized version of my life? And then backing into how you can build a business to support and reflect just that. So with that, let's jump into the 5 things you must know to build a lifestyle entrepreneur business. And we'll go through each one of these, and then I'll talk about each one in detail. And at the end of the call, we'll have a chance to do open questions and answers. So everybody that has any questions can get those answered. So the first thing here is lifestyle first. Otherwise, it's just another job. Starting any business is going to have a lot of effort that's required, a lot of learning experiences. So you got to be focused on how it plays into your lifestyle. Otherwise, you're just creating a lot of work. And that leads right into the second, which is focus on an industry that you're interested in. Number 3 is structure for scalability from day one. 4 is master using online talent platforms, learning how to hire and manage teams of specialists around the world. And number 5 is embracing a culture of contribution and lifelong learning. Let's jump in and take a look at these. So lifestyle first, otherwise it's just another job. So if you're like my friend Shotzi here, who does body work and massage therapy, she really was insistent on building into her schedule a way to have time in nature. And here's her doing a tree pose in the middle of the woods in between doing massage client work around Northern California. On the complete other end of the spectrum, there's my friends Andrew and Andy and Alex at Tomorrowland, raging out with some of the top DJs in the world. And they had structured their business, which sells nutritional supplements online, in a way that they can go out and party and then in the next day just process orders and handle any customer service from their laptops because they set up a drop ship mechanism. So any order that's placed gets automatically fulfilled from a warehouse and a manufacturer. So each in both of these extremes, from spending time in the woods in solitude to being squashed in between 100,000 people in a stadium with DJs, the point is to look at the lifestyle you want to live and then think about how to structure your business so that it supports it. Number 2 is to focus on an industry that you're interested in. So let's use an example of how, and really bring some color into this conversation and say, well, one of my interests is cycling. So if I were to build a business based on cycling, what could I do? We'll do a quick exercise here I call the sort of passions to products formula, and think, well, first, what products exist in the ecosystem, the economy that's built up around cycling? So some of the obvious ones here are cycling gloves, helmets, pedals, riding jerseys, and branded accessories. And so any one of those is a narrow enough niche market where there's still a potential customer base in the tens or hundreds of thousands, possibly even the millions, that you could leverage this interest in cycling and become, say, a cycling glove specialist or somebody that's targeted straight in on selling custom made or other companies' cycling gloves. Same goes for helmets or pedals, or maybe branded riding jerseys, which you could sell in wholesale quantities to schools or to riding organizations or to leagues, or even accessories like handlebar tape and water bottles, etc. And so as a jumping off point for building a products-based business, I say look at the economy that's grown up around an industry that you're interested in, and then narrow in and figure out how you can solve people's problems and add value in a specialized way. And then it's just about getting in front of them. If you remember back to Maddie Davis, we had what's it called? His domain name was buystubbyholders.com.au. So he positioned his business in a way where when somebody was looking to buy stubby holders, well, maybe they'd do a search for buy stubby holders. And he's now, in the top of the search engines for those terms. You could apply the same logic to buycyclingglovesonline.com. And once you have the fulfillment and setup in place, you could easily find yourself being a top-ranked website, even alongside the big boys like Amazon or Walmart.com, because you're really narrowing in on a targeted niche. And so that could be true for any other one of those products. But now say you're more inclined to do a service-based business. Well, what's the economy of services that's grown up around cycling in this example? Well, obviously you could be a trainer, right? If you're passionate about biking and you do a lot of riding, you could train other people. Or you could be a sponsorship coordinator. If you're personable and you like to go out and network and meet people, you could raise money and facilitate charity rides, or be somebody that's sort of a point person for making big coordinated rides happen. You could go a step further and be a league organizer and organize a team of riders that are either raising money for a cause or competing against one another for prizes and recognition in a region or your state. You could be a speed coach if you want to really narrow in and just focus on how can you get people to get that extra couple of seconds of speed if they're going to be racing and you've got some specialized knowledge in the field of physiology, training, etc. Or taking another tact, you could be a marketing expert and approach existing leagues, existing charity organizations, and riders and offer to get their message out there, perhaps through social media or email marketing, and help them leverage the things that they love to do to bring more attention and awareness and ultimately more funds and financing to it. And so just in this exercise, we took just one example, one area that I'm interested in, passionate about, and looked at 10 potential jumping off points towards building a lifestyle entrepreneur business. And so that's just a taste of the beginning of what you can do with all of this. And then let's look on to number 3 and say you pick one of those examples and say it's a product-based business to start. Well, say you've got cycling gloves or helmets. What you want to do to structure for scalability from day one is to have a systems-based business, in the sense that each order, each transaction that's processed goes through a predefined system and doesn't require you to be in the middle of the action, directing traffic and making sure everything runs on time and works. So an example of that would be having your products in a warehouse, or what we call a fulfillment house, or having agreements with drop shipping from the actual manufacturers. So when somebody places an order on your website, let's say for helmets, that order gets transmitted to your warehouse or to the manufacturer, who then ships it to the end customer. And that's all automated with simple technology that doesn't require any programming knowledge or coding experience to use. And that's one way to structure for scalability. So in other words, the difference between having one order or 100 in a day is just a nominal amount of your own time and attention. But say now you want to do a services-based business. Well, that's all about going from one to many. And anybody that's done one-on-one coaching, one-on-one consulting or training, I'm sure you've realized very quickly how you can max out and get to a point where you couldn't even double your practice if you wanted to, because there's only 24 hours in a day. And, I experienced this when I was just starting out doing coaching and consulting. And I said, well, if I want to make more money, it's easy. I bring on another client and then another. But then I said, wait, I couldn't possibly do any more client work because, I'd be working 12, 14 hours a day, and that's no way to live. So then it's all about having a way to reach many people with your message, with your service, with your training, with your expertise, sort of how we're doing this webinar right now. And we've got, a few hundred people on the call. So how could you set up any one of your interests and passions to leverage your knowledge and expertise, or to take your existing coaching or training you're doing in live formats or in one-to-one training environments, and leverage it so that you can reach many people, tens or hundreds or thousands at a time, and still retain your sanity, but also increase your income geometrically. That's a little bit about how to structure for scalability from the beginning. So you really want to think about this as you're getting started. Or if you're already a couple steps down the road and have your business, then reorienting towards how you can have a scalable business structure that supports your lifestyle instead of dominates it. Now, here's something that I'm very passionate about. I want to share on number 4 is master using online talent markets. Now, if anybody's familiar with elance.com or guru.com or Freelancer or some of these other online talent platforms where you can hire and manage people from around the world, then I would encourage you to get very adept at working in this environment. because one, you can get fantastic deals, and two, it allows you to chunk your work time in such a way that you can give your job requirements and hire people, say, in one sitting, and then manage the ongoing work and be on the receiving end of what people are doing on your behalf and providing to you. And so let's look at 3 quick tips on how to get great deals using online talent platforms such as Elance. And so the first one is to divide work between designers and programmers. If anybody out there has built a website and thought, oh, I need to hire somebody to design and build me a website, who do I know that could do that for me? Well, right away, you're setting yourself up to pay way more money than you need to, because I've found in doing over 100 jobs on Elance and building dozens of websites over the years that it's very rare to find one person or one team that's very skilled at both design and the programming and technical integration aspect of building websites. So an alternative would be to go on a site like Elance and post a job saying, I need a homepage and inner page designed for my website. I just need the designs, maybe 3 to 4 initial versions of the homepage and a couple ideas for how the inner page template would look. So anytime somebody clicks off home, what is that going to look like? And get them to do the design work first, then post a separate job saying, hey, I've got these designs. I need somebody who's a talented programmer to integrate them into WordPress or whatever other technology you're using to power your website, and then have them split the work, or you split the work between a design team and a programmer. You're going to lower your costs accordingly on each front and have a much more streamlined, less headaches and less hassle experience in the process. So here's another tip, is to set milestones and to pay as you go. So say now you've posted your job to get home pages designed, and you've got a couple really compelling bids. They've got a great looking portfolio and you think they'd do a great job for you. And so you say, okay, you're hired. Now you don't just you're not going to pay them 100% up front, not even close. What you want to do is set up a pay-as-you-go system using milestones, which is pretty easy and intuitive to do on a platform like Elance, where you say, okay, well, you're hired and you're going to do $200 for 3 to 4 homepage designs and 2 to 3 inner page designs. And I'll give you $50 up front when you accept the terms for this project. And then I'll give you $100 once you do the first round of completed designs, and then $50 more dollars at the end once you're completely satisfied with the work they've done. So you're never at risk more than some nominal amount, and you're setting the incentive for the programmer to do good work and do it quickly because they want to get paid. And so it really aligns both of your interests and incentives when you set milestones and pay as you go as they deliver work to you that you're contracting for and asking for. You combine that with dividing work between designers and programmers, and you're going to find, and this is one of the key things that we teach in Business in a Weekend, is you can get some amazing deals, better than, I've shown some websites to people I've built or that my clients have built, and just had said, show it to your friends and family and ask what they think it cost. Routinely, you get answers like $5,000, $7,000, but in most cases, they were built for well under $1,000 all in, using just these 2 tips alone. So the third one is to write specific but opaque job posts. So what is that all about? Specific in the sense that you would say, let's use the cycling example just to carry that forward. So I'm building a buycyclinghelmets.com. Let's just say, for an example. I don't own this website. If the domain's available, you can go snatch it up and build a business on this. But say I want to build a website for that, then I'd say I would not say in my job post to hire a designer, I would not say, hey, I own buycyclinghelmets.com and I'm looking for a website. No, I'd say something along the lines of, I'm looking for a talented designer to do homepage, website mock-ups, just the designs for a business that's focused on cycling and cycling accessories. And we are looking for 3 to 4 initial designs for the homepage, and our expected turnaround time is about 2 weeks. Please submit your portfolio and a couple of reviews and testimonials from previous clients you've worked with. And then something like that would be the post that's both specific in terms of you're telling them exactly what you want as a deliverable, the time frame, and anything else you need to make an informed decision to hire them, but it's still opaque in the sense that you're not telling them anything too detailed or tactical about your business. And so that's a way to get really talented designers bidding on your jobs. And if you're doing these 3 tips combined, then I think you can lower your costs down to, maybe even 2 figures, getting some design work done for under $100. But I find for maybe $100, $150, you can get some amazing looking homepage designs and mock-ups for sites by combining these 3 tips. And so that's all just scratching the tip of the iceberg on how to master using online talent markets. Let's move on to number 5, which is embracing a culture of contribution and lifelong learning. Because ultimately, if you get success and you have enough money to do the things you want to do, at a certain point after that, money just becomes a number. At least that's been my experience. So it then becomes about having a rich, full life. And I think that that's about embracing a culture of contribution and continuing to learn for a lifetime. So just to bring some color to this, one of the many things I'm involved in is I started a nonprofit called University Incubator. And our mission is to empower student entrepreneurs and help them, quote, create their own job by the time they graduate. This is one way that I give back, just dedicating an hour or maybe 3 to 4 hours a week, just one afternoon, going over and meeting with student entrepreneurs. And we have a relationship with a funding platform called Kiva, where we can give them $3,000 to $5,000 loans, 0% interest. And so they have a chance to build businesses while they're still in the safe environment of school. That's one way that I really enjoy giving back and contributing, as well as inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs. And in terms of lifelong learning, even though I'm a coach and a trainer and an author, I'm always a student. And I always will be until the day I die. So here's me learning from one of my heroes, Brendan Burchard, who's created a number of training programs like Experts Academy, High Performance Academy, as well as some best-selling books like The Charge and The Millionaire Messenger. And so there we are, standing next to one of my heroes, always continuing to learn. I probably went to 2 or 3 of his conferences and invested in my personal and professional development quite a bit over the last couple of years. And so that sort of shows you where you are in the spectrum between just getting started, not having any prior working experience as an entrepreneur, and being a 10-figure a year business owner like Brendan Burchard, and sitting somewhere in the middle. You can always look upstream and learn something from people that are a few steps ahead of you down the road, and also look downstream and help the next generation or people that are a little bit further behind and are just getting started. And so that's the balance between having a culture of contribution and being a student always, and embracing this culture of lifelong learning. So these are, some of the 5 things that I really think you must know to build a successful lifestyle entrepreneur business and really to have an enriching and full life. And now I want to talk to you a little bit about, well, what is the Business in a Weekend program? Well, this is actually a virtual bootcamp where it's comprised of 3 parts. And on the one hand, we've got core training. So over this weekend program, about 72 hours of live training on webinar, and we have a Facebook group with a community where we collaborate live and do introductions. And then there's also a continuity with a membership site where we have lifetime access to exercises and audios and videos. So in the core training, there's 7 90 to 120 minute modules where we go through the concepts, teach and train, and give just as much information as I can, and inviting in a couple other experts as well on every aspect of idea generation through to market validation, building great looking websites, structuring your business for scalability, and having a chance for live Q&A in the process. On the community, you've got a private Facebook group where you can collaborate live and build valuable relationships with other people that are of the same mind, right? One of the most valuable things I found from going to conferences and joining groups and associations is that you're meeting other people that have raised their hand and stepped up and said, you know what, I want to do the same thing. I want to build my business. I want to take control of my career and lifestyle. And so that's the community that I want to curate across the Business in a Weekend program. And then finally, there's the continuity piece. So you've got a private membership site where there's exercises, audio trainings, and ultimately video recordings of all of the training modules from the core training that will be uploaded after the fact. So you can reference back anytime and get targeted, just-in-time advice for whatever stage of building and growing your business you're involved in. So let's talk a little bit about what is involved in the core training. And so in module 1, we jump right in with idea generation and what I call discovering your identity in business and in life, as well as talking about the 4 types of lifestyle entrepreneur business. So what's discovering your identity in business and life? I look at each business, each brand that I've built as creating a unique identity and then being the driving force behind it. So whether in my nonprofit, University Incubator, in that role, I'm the executive director of University Incubator. And when I deal with people through the filter of that business, that organization, that's the role I get to play. In other cases, like best-selling author of Lifestyle Entrepreneur, creator of the Business in a Weekend training program, all of these are different facets of my overall life and that are reflected through business. And so we talk a lot about identity and how to bring more of you into what you're doing in business and in your lifestyle, as well as starting to generate ideas right away that you can put into practice over the weekend and over the coming weeks and months. Then we also talk about the 4 types of lifestyle entrepreneur business, whether that's having a customized training platform that you're delivering value to people online, or having a products business that fulfills orders from a warehouse far away that you don't even have to touch, that operates at arm's length. We'll explain the 4 types of lifestyle entrepreneur business so you can find the one that's right for you. And that's just on the first call. Then in module 2, we go into introduction to talent markets and how to get amazing deals outsourcing online. So we talked a little about Elance there, and there's others as well. But when you understand how to leverage these talent platforms, well, 1, you're going to bring your cost down dramatically. 2, you're going to get a massive amount of leverage because you'll have people working on your business across different time zones, and you really get to round out any areas where you don't have particular expertise or working knowledge, as well as getting just turnkey service delivery. So maybe you don't know how to upload a website or configure a domain, whatever. Hire somebody for $20-$30 online and have them do it for you. Save yourself the headache and get amazing deals in the process. So we'll talk about how to get deals from not only design and programming, but all the way through to copywriting, sales and marketing support, even virtual assistants that can manage your administrative affairs from some distant remote location, and you can just manage it through email or Skype chat. It's very exciting stuff. Then in module 3, we go into Lifestyle Design 101, what I call the Vision Map framework, where MAP stands for mission, action plan, and product. And this sort of zooms back to module 1, where you've gotten this new identity or this new brand that you want to create, and you have a vision for how you want your lifestyle to be structured. Then it's just about having the map to get you there. And that's setting your mission in place, having a tactical action plan, and then being able to review the product of those actions to make refinements and improvements along the way. Then we also talk about market validation and competitive analysis. So maybe in our example of cycling helmets, it sounds great, but is there really a market? Are there enough people willing to pay for it to make it worth your while to build, deploy, and manage it as a business? Then in module 4, we talk about fulfilling your product or service to customers and negotiating and sending incentives in outsourcing. So now we're talking about you've got your business and brand thought through and you've proved that there's a market, how do you fulfill on that promise? In the cycling helmets example, how would you actually have the dropship arrangement structured so that orders are fulfilled as soon as they're placed? Or if it's a service, how do you deliver your training or coaching if in a one-to-many format online using the technologies that are available today? We're also going to talk about negotiating and setting incentives in outsourcing so that you're never at risk for more than $100 or $200 at a time, and that your incentives are aligned with the people that are working for you so you can keep things on track, moving forward, and on budget. In Module 5, we talk about the operations model and your business architecture, so the actual structure front to back, from how people find you to how they interact with your website, to how they show that they're interested and request a quote or get in touch with you or place a sale online, all the way through to fulfillment and having satisfied customers that are glad to refer new business to you and come back when they're ready for another order. And then we talk more about designing for scalability from day one. These two ideas work in tandem. So the operations model is really just a business architecture diagram that fits product and service-based businesses and sets your business up to scale from the day that you launch. In Module 6, we talk about productivity hacks, which I call threshold theory and the principle of the power hour. How do you fit more productivity into the same 24 hours that we all have? How do you become more effective and efficient using technology, using some psychology, and using some tips and tricks that I've discovered through trial and error, and that I've talked with a number of other people that have this type of business and lifestyle, and bring it all to bear on how you can be the most effective, productive person possible so you can spend more time doing what you love and less time managing and growing a business and doing administrative work. In Module 7, we get closer to launch with your go live strategy, setting your action plan, and making the most of life as a lifestyle entrepreneur. Here's where we show how it all comes together and how you actually launch your new business to the world, start driving traffic and getting your business or your message out there in a big way, and then how to integrate that more fully with your lifestyle so that they're supportive, almost like two DNA strands, where one is lifestyle and one is entrepreneurship, and how they combine to work together and give you the most fulfillment possible, as well as support the lifestyle you want with a business that you love. And then over the course of the weekend, we're going to keep it fun and interactive. There's going to be a contest, and somebody in the Business in a Weekend program will come away with an iPad mini that you can actually use to run this business that you're going to create from anywhere in the world in the palm of your hand. And we'll also bring in a featured expert, maybe two. So we'll have a mystery guest that's got this lifestyle and business thing nailed and is going to give you some tactical tips and advice on how you can set this up and structure it for yourself. Then the second part of Business in a Weekend is the community. So you have a private Facebook group where you have like-minded people, and we're all going through the program together with, remember, this is live training interspersed with exercises and interaction and Q&A. So you actually get to form relationships with people over the course of the weekend that could last a lifetime and could really help propel your business forward. So once you're in the Facebook group, that's there long past the weekend ends. And hopefully those are relationships that can last, perhaps for a lifetime. And third, there's the continuity aspect. There's the private membership site where you've got all of the core training, and you've got the exercises and audios, and all of the training webinars that we'll do will be uploaded there. And that's something you can reference back to time and time again for whatever stage you are in your business growth, or if you ever want a refresher on some of the content we covered, because we're going to cover a lot in this weekend in a high energy and a fun environment. And so those are the three main components that comprise Business in a Weekend. And so you may be thinking now, well, what does Business in a Weekend cost? And what are sort of the details? Well, I want to tell you a little bit about when I was getting started doing entrepreneurship coaching and training. I was doing one-to-one, and I talked about switching from one-to-one to one-to-many. But I was doing it at about $3,000 a month per client with an average of a 3-month client engagement. That could be up to $9,000. I think that's way too much to ask, and it's not realistic because there's only one of me, and it's just not scalable. So then I moved to live weekend boot camps, and we taught these around the world: personal development, entrepreneurship, lifestyle design. We'd actually get a hotel, and people would fly in and stay there. So there's real costs involved, and so we charged $29.97 for those, for 3 days of live in-person training in some conference room or hotel around the world. But we're not even getting close to that. That's still way too high. So then from those two experiences, I decided to create the Business in a Weekend virtual bootcamp, comprised of the online training modules, live Q&A, the community, and then the continuity aspect with a membership portal. And I thought, okay, well, what if I cut the price of the live bootcamp by a third and offered it for $9.97? I thought that might sound fair, but I think that's way too much as well. So what I want to do is offer today Business in a Weekend for $4.97. And that's going to run the first program from September 20th to 22nd. That's a Friday to a Sunday. And I think that at, 12 or 13% of what we were running the program live, that it's a great opportunity to really kickstart your business, get a refresher if you've already had a couple goes at entrepreneurship, and get some new ideas, some new relationships, and a community that's supportive of you moving in the direction of building a business that reflects and amplifies your interests and passions. So I'm going to put this URL into the group chat here. And if anybody on this call feels moved, I would love to work with you over the course of the weekend. There's going to be plenty of time for one-to-one interaction. We're going to have a fun environment, and it's really going to move the needle for your life and get you going with this new business. So let's also sweeten the deal a little bit and say, so that, the register, somebody's asking, is that just for today? Well, the registration is open for the next couple of days, but I'm offering you guys on this webinar that if you join today, you'll also get the Become a Lifestyle Entrepreneur 6-part audio training program, which is a $297 value for free when you register for Business in a Weekend today. And if you're already a client of mine and you've gotten that program, then let's get in touch and maybe we can arrange a discount for you, because I want to be fair. But again, for $497, for thousands of dollars of value, plus I'll throw in the $297 Become a Lifestyle Entrepreneur audio training, so you can get started going through some background training, as well as with the book that you all got when you registered for this call. And just to be totally fair, if you go through the program, you don't like it, it's not your thing, you didn't learn something or whatever, 100% refund, no hard feelings. I may lay awake at night, distraught and and maybe even shed a tear, because I really strive to excel and serve every customer and client of mine. But I want to guarantee and take all of the risk out of your decision that if you go through the Business in a Weekend program, it doesn't move the needle for you, 100% refund, no hard feelings, and we'll get that squared away for you. So with that, I want to encourage you to join and enroll now. We'll have registration will be open for the next, 3 to 4 days. And there's only 50 seats available on this program for Business in a Weekend. And I want to open it up and answer some questions. If anybody here on the call has some questions, feel free to drop them into the question tab here on GoToWebinar, and I'll get all these answered for you. So Bo says, is this a webinar or a clever way to disguise a sales letter? Well, this is a webinar in the sense that I hoped to have imparted 5 things that you need to know to build a successful lifestyle entrepreneur business. And at the end of it, I'm offering you an opportunity to continue your education and deepen your learning and have this experience of going through a weekend of intense business training with me if it's right for you. If not, that's all right as well. And Linda says here, that's CO, correct? .com. Yes, Linda, that's businessinaweekend.com. bootcamp.co/join. And make sure that join is spelled with a lowercase spelling there, and that'll take you right to the registration page. So, and Bo's got a funny comment. Look, yeah, I'm just playing around here. We're all having a good time. But anybody that's got questions, let's see here. Tracy says, what if I currently don't have a specific idea for my business? That is 100% okay, Tracy. In fact, we start from the very first call with idea generation. And really, if you're just looking at a blank sheet of paper and wondering, what do I do here? That is totally okay. This Business in a Weekend program is designed for people that have no prior entrepreneurship experience, as well as for people that are currently business owners that are looking to leverage technology that's out there to a greater degree, as well as to take advantage of things like these online talent platforms and really getting leverage and scale, as well as a huge influx of new ideas. So I've designed the curriculum to start right from square one and quickly move through, by the end of the first call, you're going to have over 10 actionable ideas that you can start to pursue and put into practice, or at least explore in greater detail over the weekend. And so that's totally okay if you don't have any prior experience. So let's see here. Greg says, I was going to ask about service-based business, but you covered that too. Well, I'm glad. I don't want to be prescriptive with any of the teaching or training that I do, in the sense that the type of businesses that I've started is not necessarily the type of business that anybody else wants to start. So really, after having founded or co-founded over 7 companies now and helping dozens of people start businesses of their own, one thing I've taken away is that there's some certain blueprints and strategies and structures and tactics that you can use irrespective of which type of business that you want to do. Product-based, service-based, those are the most high-level abstractions that you can talk about, but then it quickly gets down to even more detailed structuring of, on the first call as well, we're going to go over the 4 types of lifestyle entrepreneur business, so you can see which one or which combination resonates with you. So yes, we're going to cover service and product-based businesses in equal proportion. And Dan's got a question. I will take that one. Oh, okay, offline. Great. Gustavo says, when you have a product in mind, how do you know if it will be profitable, and how do you get money to buy the product? Great question, Gustavo. Well, that's actually, we cover that in the second call, and we go into depth over this topic in the weekend. I can tell you right now that once you have a product in mind, and how do you know if it'll be profitable? Well, a lot of that goes into doing some quick, I just call it like an acid test, market validation, where we look around and use tools like Google keyword research and Google traffic estimator, and we look at how many people are competing and bidding on different search terms, how much traffic there is going towards whatever industry or product idea that you have in mind, and do some quick back of the envelope math to see what the revenue and profit potential is for literally any type of business, product-based or a service. And so what we do, since lifestyle entrepreneur business is all about setting it up in a scalable way, with the internet being the intermediator. So having a website be sort of the primary part of your business, we can use many of the tools that are available to see how many people are looking for the types of products that you may want to offer, or services, how much people are willing to pay to advertise for them, and then quickly benchmark what the sort of average price is per product in that industry. To know if it's profitable, we also look at what are the costs to fulfill it. How can you get the products, or how do you fulfill on the promise of your service? And we cover all of that, within the first couple of calls. And can't go into too much detail now because I want to get to all these questions, but I want to touch on, how do you get the money to buy the product? That's also a great question from Gustavo. And the answer is, you don't necessarily need an outlay of cash. if you're going to be aggregating different products, like again, using bicycle helmets or cycling gloves, you could set up relationships with existing manufacturers and brands whereby they would ship orders that you get directly to the end customer. So you actually wouldn't be buying any inventory in that case. Now, I will caveat that by saying if you're going to create a product from scratch or do some type of a custom design, you may need to do small amounts of orders at a time and then move them to your own warehouse, which we call a fulfillment house, that will then accept the orders from your website and send them to the customer. Even then, you're not going to be out of pocket more than a few hundred or a thousand or two at the time, and that's just working capital for your products after we've tested and proven that there's a market and that the idea could be profitable. So I hope that answers your question, Gustavo. Kevin says, will it be held again at a future date? Great question, Kevin. Yes, we will be running Business in a Weekend every 6 weeks or so. And so if you can't make September 20th to 22nd for some reason, and you still want to enroll, then you'll get all of the bonus information. You'll get access to the membership portal and to the Facebook group right away. And if you can't make the calls for that whole weekend, then you'll get all of the webinars and you'll get all of the training. And then you can actually participate in a future weekend. And like I said, we'll be running the program every 6 weeks or so. And so I'd be happy to either tell you offline or give you some more information on when exactly the next program will be run. It's not scheduled just yet, but I want you to know that if you do register today, you will get all the bonuses and all of the access to the information and training from this program, and then we'll get you in whenever it works in your schedule. And we have a question from Klaus. I hope I said that right. It says, how will you manage a maximum of 50 clients with different business ideas? Of course, everybody expects your best advice and treatment. Well, great question and very fair. So I'll have a couple assistants with me, but I will be doing all of the teaching and training myself. And just to tell you, I'm going to leave it all on the field. Even if I don't sleep for 72 hours, I'm going to make sure that, one, I deliver all of the training that I described in the core training modules. Two, that I'm facilitating interaction between the group and really giving you exercises that help you flush out your own ideas, and then feedback on those throughout the weekend. And if there's some real questions that you just seem to be getting stuck on, then we're no problem to jump on a quick call or do a Facebook chat or email. I promise you, you'll have my undivided attention throughout the whole weekend. And I've done programs, with 10, 20, 50 and more people before in different environments and different structures. And it's always, nobody's ever went away still having questions unanswered. So I'll make sure that everybody gets all of the attention that they want there. So let's see. Another question from Klaus is, additionally, how are you planning to align your webinars to novices versus more advanced participants? That's a great question. So we'll go through all of the training, and with the idea generation exercises with the 4 types of lifestyle entrepreneur business, even if you've already started a business or two before and you're looking for some new strategies and tips and tactics, you should be able to take away some useful tips and takeaways from even the very first call. And so from there, we go through and cover just the full spectrum of information and material. And I promise you that it's applicable to both first-timers and to serial entrepreneurs. Keeping in mind that this is really the distillation of my own 10 years of experience, starting from having a record label through to having a USB flash drive business, renewable energy industry, all the way through to consulting and coaching, personal development seminars, and being an author and running a training academy. That's just my experience, but also from the dozens of clients that I've personally helped start businesses and the hundreds of people in my network who I learned from and benchmark from. I've tried to distill that all into a series of best practices and exercises that applies to people from both the beginning through an intermediate and advanced level. And carrying on from your other question, if you have some specific questions about more intermediate or advanced stuff, we'll get all of those answered over the course of the weekend. Here's a question from Bo. Any thoughts of using knowledge of Chinese culture and language in building a business that's not just a translation service? I'm studying Chinese, 6 years of study, but I'm afraid I'll end up a school teacher. Let's see, asking how you can convert this knowledge into a lifestyle entrepreneur business. Well, Bo, I would send a big ni hao your way. I'm also a student of the Chinese language, and I think it's one of the most interesting and challenging languages out there. I have, in fact, used my knowledge of Chinese language and my experience with Chinese culture to directly work on 3 businesses that I've founded or co-founded. And I used them in some ways. It wasn't, 100% of the focus, in the sense that I wasn't doing like a Chinese language instruction. But for example, I had a USBSuperstore.com, which is a business I built and sold. And we had a portfolio of factories in South China. So just knowing Chinese gave me a huge advantage in talking to suppliers, building relationships with points of contact on the ground, and managing anytime there was an issue that arose. It also got me a lot of respect, and it also made doing business a lot more fun. In another case, I had another brand called China USA Traders, which was a consultancy to help other people get connected with manufacturers and logistics out of South China, which really is like, where 40 or 50% of stuff in the world is made. And so I would say, from my own direct experience, there's many ways to use knowledge of Chinese language and culture to build a business, yes, and also to augment a business and give you a distinct competitive advantage in a number of distinct styles of business, or types of business, as the case may be, that can really help it grow and flourish, as well as build connections, or guanxi, as as it's said in Chinese. So I hope that answers your question now. Kathy asks, will you tell us how to position ourselves using tools such as Google keywords? Yes, absolutely. This is a huge core part of the training, and I'm glad that you asked that, Kathy, because one of my approaches has always been to find to actually have the domain name is one of the ways that you can best position yourself to get ranked in search engines, Google and others. And so once we have a great idea for the business, and you've got a product focus and a brand, then it's about getting a killer domain name that's going to get you ranked quickly, and also having a strategy of SEO, also known as search engine optimization, to make sure your website is visible across a broad basket of keywords and search terms that people are looking for when they want to buy what you have to offer. And so, yes, we'll absolutely be covering Google keywords and tools, traffic estimator, etc., as well as search engine optimization, and how to position yourself in the market to get ranked as quick as possible, and sort of keep that ranking and position for as long as possible. And let's see. We have another question from Klaus saying, thanks for the reply, a real inspiring story. Greetings from the Netherlands. Hello, Klaus. I can't wait to get back over to Holland, and something you may be interested in is one of my good friends, and also a client and somebody that I'm featuring in the re-release of Lifestyle Entrepreneur, is a guy named Jasper Ribbers, who is now known as the Traveling Dutchman. And he put his apartment in Amsterdam on Airbnb and has an online business, and now travels the world pretty much continuously, writing for his blog, thetravelingdutchman.com. So if you're out there in the Netherlands listening to this, I encourage you to take a look and see what he's up to. Gustavo says, will you guide us all the way until we reach our end goal, to have a profitable online business in order to live the life we want? Yes, that is the sole purpose of this training. And even though the business in a weekend is, as the name suggests, a weekend-long training program. I have hopefully a reputation of over-delivering and continuing on supporting everybody that I've worked with for as long as they want it. So the goal of Business in a Weekend isn't to have you completely launch a company from scratch to being launched in 3 days. You may be able to do that if you're going to do like a service-based business that's hands-on, like, maybe a massage therapist or something. You could get a site up, get it out, and start getting traffic and sales in 3 days. But the point is to give you all of the information and start you down the path with tactical exercises, and then support you ongoing through the Facebook community, through the membership portal, and where necessary, through ongoing coaching and training. And so I would never turn a blind ear or a blind eye or a deaf ear to a client that's got questions, a month, 2 months after doing a program or a coaching engagement, because actually all of this work stems from my mission in life, which is to inspire and instruct the next generation of entrepreneurs. So I hope that answers your question, Gustavo. Klaus says, I know him as well. That's awesome. The Traveling Dutchman has been blowing up recently. His blog is now getting a lot of traffic, and he just keeps traveling. And Bo says, thanks for your reply about China. Holland, that's rude. Just saying. Holland is a province, Netherlands is a country. My apologies to everybody in the Netherlands. It just shows that despite traveling many months of the year, I still have a lot to learn about other cultures. So anybody else out there have questions? This would be your chance to fire them over, and we will get them answered. I'll stay on the line for a couple minutes here. And in the meantime, if you're so inclined, I encourage you to register and get enrolled for Business in a Weekend, which will be running September 20th to 22nd. And let's see here. We've got another question from Corey saying, I once tried an online business program, but I never really got started. I never started my business despite doing it. My biggest fear is not knowing what I want to do as my business. Not because of a lack of ideas, but rather a problem narrowing things down. Well, you're in good company, Corey. I have the exact same issue. I am somebody that has maybe what you call entrepreneurial ADD. I've started a number of businesses in a variety of industries, but beyond that, I've had hundreds of ideas that I've never acted on. And so I think the important thing is to start one thing and get the experience of going all the way from idea to launch and firmly creating that brand, that business in the world, and embodying that identity as the owner of your very own business. Once you do it the first time, if that is the case, then, well, that eliminates the fear of not knowing what you want to do because you've actually done something. And I would also say that entrepreneurship, as I see it and as I teach it, is not an either or prospect, meaning that if you choose to go down one road and start one business or brand or fully develop out one idea, it doesn't rule out any of the others. Sure, you're going to have to focus and put in some effort to get the first one going, but I think of it as a cumulative thing, like a snowball that builds up both momentum, speed, and mass and size as it continues to roll on. So as you start more businesses, the experience compounds and the success and the prospect of success becomes more clear because you know what to avoid and what to focus on in each subsequent undertaking. So this is a common one that people think either they don't have an idea or they have ideas, but they either don't know how to act on them or they don't know which one to pick. I say, in the first one or two training calls and modules, we'll narrow in on one and then validate to make sure it's a good, viable option, and then continue going from there. In the same way that I advise setting milestones and paying as you go for client engagements, with contractors and freelancers that you'd hire online, I'd say you invest your time, your energy, and your resources into your business until you know for sure that it doesn't make sense to do so any further. So it's never it's never like a sunk cost, or I would never consider money I invested in pursuing a business idea to be a waste, because I learned something no matter how far down I chased one, either halfway to launch or all the way to building a six-figure business and selling it. And I would encourage you to take the first steps. Nicole says, thanks. I learned several things today. Great to have you on the call, Nicole. And Corey says, yes, it can be difficult and paralyzing even when you don't know where to start. Yeah, that's I totally agree. And I think it's sort of a big elephant in the room for some people, but it's also the easiest one to slay, because getting started is something that can be done absolutely over the course of a weekend. And so if you think of that in the grand scheme of things, you could start multiple businesses and brands in any given year. So let's see. And Dan says, I like you talk about how to narrow down ideas and find out if something is profitable. Yes, that's so key. One of the big common mistakes in business is that people build a product, or they build a whole website, or they build, everything that they think they need, like actually buying inventory or investing thousands of dollars in a website, before they know that there's a market for it. And so if you are familiar with the book called The Lean Startup, there's this whole movement of sort of selling before you make. And I think in some cases that may have been taken to an extreme, but it's certainly possible to validate an idea and make sure that it's viable before you invest too much time and money chasing it down. Daryl has a question. He says, how hard to make a business automated? Well, here's the thing, Daryl. There's different degrees of automation. And if your ultimate goal is to have a business that completely runs on autopilot, and maybe you've read the 4-Hour Workweek, which I love, this book and that whole philosophy, you could even get it more refined than that and have the 4-Hour Work Month. But it does require building the business first and structuring the technology, knowing how it all works, and then automating it piece by piece until everything's running as a smooth system. And so I'll give you a specific answer. One quick question, Dan says, what was that book? The Lean Startup, not Lean In. The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, if anybody was interested in that. Back to Daryl's question, how to make a business automated. So in terms of a timeline, I think that you can get fully launched up in business with a brand in a couple months. And then as you first operate the business for a month or two and understand specifically how your customers are interacting, what their wants and needs are, and then start automating more and more of the pieces of the process along the way, to the point where, say you have a products business, you could have a fulfillment house or drop ship arrangements. You could hire a virtual assistant to manage administrative affairs. You could have a customer service team for a few $100s a month that works 24/7 to deal with any clients. I've set all of these things up, and I can tell you exactly how to do so. And then you can have a sales and marketing channel that's proven, whether it's advertising, social media, promotions, joint venturing, having affiliate relationships that will consistently drive qualified traffic into your website, which is actually the front end for an automated system that fulfills what they're looking for. So I would say it's not necessarily hard, but it just requires a consistent, focused effort until it's all in place and running smoothly. Let's see. Dan says, I don't want to indulge in endless brainstorming of ideas. So when you talk about the elephant in the room, yes, that's my experience. Yeah, I'm an idea person too, Dan. I love nothing more than just talking about new business ideas and exploring them and fleshing them out. But what I want to give you is a tactical blueprint on how to move forward on any one of those ideas as far as it makes sense to go. And ideally, finding the one sooner than later that you want to really take all the way and build a business and a brand around. And again, this is not an either or proposition, right? This is a situation where you can, in the last, put this into perspective. In the last 12 months, I've helped close to 10 people launch businesses and brands, and that's being very hands-on and really working like step by step. I myself have launched, I think, 3 or 4 new brands, businesses, including a book, a nonprofit university incubator, Lifestyle Entrepreneurs Academy, and the Business in a Weekend program, and even one more. And so that's in 12 months working on, double-digit ideas, taking them into the sphere where they're an operating business that has customers, clients, and constituents. So don't let it psych you out, and don't become, paralysis by analysis guy. Instead, let me, to the extent you're willing, help you move forward and get traction and scalability from those ideas. So we have another question/comment from Edie here. I hope I said that right. Edie, very well stated about entrepreneurial ADD. I have it also. So many ideas, which one to choose? I feel I need the most assistance in determining the viability of certain ideas that resonate with my preferred lifestyle and creating that business architecture you mentioned. Well, you're in the right place, Edie. That is 100% what I'm all about. And I love how you said integrating or determining the viability of ideas that resonate with my preferred lifestyle. That's really the key. I wasn't kidding or messing around when I put lifestyle first, or else it's just another job, as the number one thing you need to know to have a successful lifestyle entrepreneur business. Because when you've got that, then it's not really work. It's just simply elaborating one of your interests or passions in a way that you're adding value to others, adding value and generating an income, and fitting it into your lifestyle in such a way that it supports and amplifies those interests and passions. And that's really what we're going to be focusing a lot on over the course of the weekend. It's really a mix of idea generation, validation, and then tactically moving towards having a online business that can be partially automated at first, that can certainly operate at arm's length, whether it's product or service, so that you have scale, and that you can manage from anywhere in the world on a laptop and internet connection. Let's see. Oh, just for kicks, this is Corey. I remember you from Jaden Sterling. Good to talk to you again, Corey. Glad that you're here. Let's see. Okay, Deborah says, what are the 4 models for lifestyle entrepreneurs? Well, Deborah is tempting me to give away the farm, and you know what? I will indulge you here. So simply put, the 4 types of lifestyle entrepreneur business are, think of this like a quadrant, right? So in the upper, as an axis rather. So on the vertical axis, you have different degrees of let me explain this another way. So the first type would be an online custom experience to the user. So each customer would have their own unique self-selected interaction with your business or brand, and that they would do the transaction and be fulfilled online. So you think of like a Build-A-Bear workshop, where you can make your own stuffed animal bear and then they ship it to you, right? You can select the different components you want, and then get your own custom experience of that business or brand. One other example I use for type 1 is I started a renewable energy credits business. So we had a carbon calculator on our website. Each user could go on and input, the type size house they have, lifestyle things like your car, how much you travel, etc., and realize the carbon impact, and then buy that specific amount of carbon credits to offset it. So there's a custom, unique experience online, and that's type 1. Type 2 is a standardized online experience. So that's something like an ebook, or if you're doing a nutritional supplement subscription business, everybody that comes to the website either makes a buy or don't buy decision, but the offer remains the same. On the type 3 is what I call an offline custom experience. So the fulfillment of your brand's promise is done in person or offline, or I guess in person is the easier way to think about it. And this is like coaching, life coaching, consulting, business development, anything where you're tailoring your approach to the specific needs of one individual client or some group that has self-selected into a specific category. So that's anywhere from, yoga or massage therapy to life coaching and teleseminars on a specific topic, delivering in person and doing it in a customized way. Type 4 would be, guess what? It'd be an in-person standardized experience. So covering the 4 bases there, you've got in type 4, having something like, either if you give keynote speeches, you're giving essentially the same speech to different audiences in person. Or say you're running webinars, right? You're giving the same webinar to different people. Another example would be in a band. I always thought of this when we had our band and record label. You don't rewrite an album's worth of songs every time you get on stage and play, but you're giving an experience to people in a sort of a standardized or a set structure and delivering it in person, as opposed to a digital product or some online fulfilled physical product. So I hope that helps clear it up for you a little, Deborah, and we go into detail and give specific business examples and how all of those were built in training module 1. At the releases, let's see. Daryl says, thanks. You're very welcome, Daryl. Dan says, I'm going to try to... Oh, we got a... Okay, it looks more like a poem, so I'll get to that one offline. Greg Dixon says, great. Glad to have you here, Greg. And so still got a little more time here. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to fire them over. I'll get them all answered here for you. And I really appreciate everybody coming on the call and making time today. I hope you've been enjoying my book, Lifestyle Entrepreneur, that you got when you registered. And I hope that that's, given a little bit of inspiration and some instruction and filled some color out and helped you in any way. I'd be totally overjoyed to learn that. So feel free to drop me a comment or an email if that's been the case. And Kathy has a question. Will you bring in ideas from people like your mentor, Brendan? I think she's talking about Brendan Burchard. Well, sure, Kathy. I'm not going to teach his material per se, but I've basically been through almost all of the training that he offers, and I like to think I've integrated it in some different ways to how I interact with people in the business world, whether that's having a video of me talking direct to camera on a webinar registration form like you've seen, or through how I view being an authority on a subject, which he covers a lot in Experts Academy. I can't promise you that I can get Brendan Burchard on the Business in a Weekend program. I think that would be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm more than happy to talk about what I've learned and my takeaways from learning from him. So we've got Adriana here. You mentioned Google keywords a number of times. That just went away. Any other ideas for keywords? Not exactly sure what she means here about Google keywords, but I will speak to what I think she's saying. Are there any other ideas for keywords? Well, one of the important parts of market validation is understanding let's call it a basket of search terms that people look for in any industry or any field. And just put yourself in the customer perspective. If you had, let's just use a mundane example of car trouble, right? You say, how do I, get my transmission fixed? How to fix my transmission? Window won't roll down. Trunk is stuck, etc., etc. You'd search for any number of things depending on what problem you were trying to solve. And similarly, for any business idea you have, we flip the script and from the business owner's perspective say, well, what are all of the different search terms, keywords that people would be looking for or searching for that I'd want them to find me and my offering? And then we tailor building the website, getting the domain, the content, and the link building and associations you have with other websites to support that basket of search terms so that you can ideally rank highly, and which translates into getting free traffic from a number of different search threads that people would be looking for when they want information or solutions to some problem that you can solve. Hope that helped, Adriana. Kathy says, thanks for clarifying. My pleasure, Kathy. And Daryl says, how much have people made? I think he's talking about money. So Daryl, I would say this. Here's my perspective on money is that if you can enjoy the lifestyle that you want, then that's the baseline of what's enough. I have clients that have made hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have clients that have made, tens of thousands of dollars, but have an amazing lifestyle of travel and doing pretty much everything that they want and very few things that they don't, and every shade in between. I'm not on this webinar saying I've made people millionaires or multimillionaires, and I think it's bound to happen. But considering that I've really been doing this full-time entrepreneurship coaching and training for only a couple of years, I'm not going to say that I've made people millionaires just yet. But six figures, absolutely. Many of my friends who I can't claim that I've helped them launch their business are making seven figures online today. That's my circle of friends and people I consider peers as lifestyle entrepreneurs. Client-wise, you got to start somewhere and then build up to the thousands and then tens of thousands. And as you got that, structuring from scalability from day one lets you get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars range. That can happen in the course of a year. I mean, one of the businesses I started, 4 or 5 years ago, it's called USB Superstore. And in we were selling wholesale USB flash drives, right? So, you flash drive, you put in your computer. We'd custom brand them and sell them in quantities of 100 or more. And this was a great business because each one of those drives could be worth, $5, $10, or $15, depending on how much memory was in them. And so in the first full year of operations, we made just under $500,000 in sales. So we structured from scalability from day one. We had a product market fit that was right on the money. We clearly knew who our customers were and we spoke right to them and got positioned in the search engines quickly and sustainably. I think we still rank. I ultimately sold that business, but it's possible to build a six-figure business in 12 months from getting started at square one. So hope that answers your question. Let's see. Greg asked, Google keyword tool is now keyword planner. Same thing, really. Fair enough. Google, all these tech companies will change their names, their products, and tweak a little bit. The point is that there's free tools out there to research traffic, to research the advertising competition that what people are willing to pay for different search terms. All of that informs the market validation and how to position yourself best. And we just take advantage of all of those tools. Adriana says, keyword tools went away or is now part of a paid service. I'd double check on that, but I know of at least a couple other. I'm pretty sure that there's still ways to check Google search terms and tools. Either way, we will make sure that happens. I'm going to double check on that since two people have mentioned it. Vicky Eaton comes in with the question, if we do not have a business, Would you suggest one? Well, Vicky, then her other question is, if our business is not successful, would joining you help? These are interesting questions. If you do not have a business, would I suggest one? If you mean suggesting a specific type of business, I'm happy to help generate ideas with you all day long. And my experience shows me that, in a 20 to 30 minute conversation, or in the course of a 90-minute training module, which is the first one that we cover, the idea generation piece, it just that obstacle gets blown out of the water. And I think maybe you haven't had the right perspective historically to choose the type of business that is going to be right for you and support your lifestyle. Or maybe you have. I don't know your exact situation, but I'm happy to make suggestions, but I'm not going to give a prescription. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I can give you, 20 ideas based on your own personal interests and passions. And he says, if we have a business but it's not successful, would joining me help? Well, is a very good question there. If you have a business now, we can certainly diagnose and see whether or not or how to restructure it to be scalable, to support your interests and lifestyle, and to become more successful. You may just have a couple quick fixes that need adjusting, and then it would unlock a lot of the potential. Or maybe you've got a business that has sort of maxed out and is no longer serving your needs. In either case, I'll give you all of the tools and strategies to build any number of new businesses from the ground up, and we can also diagnose your specific situation. And let's see. Nick comes in and says, keyword tool got redone. It is different, and it's not the keyword planner, and the keyword tool is still free. Good, glad to hear, and I thought so. Still free, just need an AdWords account. Thank you, Greg. Yes, I thought so. I just can't check it in real time, but thanks so much, guys, for coming in with that. Let's see. We've got a question from Corey that is a couple multi-part. It says, more often than not, building traffic comes down to people not knowing you exist rather than not wanting your product. Similarly, perhaps I'm not entirely sure what kind of lifestyle I'm trying to build because I've not been exposed to much, being that I'm only 21. Can you or will you go over the most common kind of lifestyles that most of your clients aspire to achieve? That's a great question, Corey. Let me take it point by point. You said more often than not, building traffic comes down to people not knowing you exist rather than not wanting your product. Well, I agree. Traffic is sort of a commodity nowadays. There's so many ways to generate it. And if people don't know you exist and you're not getting traffic, then your business is at a serious disadvantage. So it's all about having a blend of different traffic sources. Qualified traffic, meaning people are coming to your site because they've either self-selected by searching for something that's related to your business, or they were referred over by somebody via email that's recommending your product or marketing an offer that you have, or because you've given some incentive. Much like many of you have arrived at this webinar, perhaps one of my joint venture partners, Alicia Dunham's, offered you a copy of my book for free, or you saw a Facebook ad that I did, or you saw an email from myself or somebody else. I had a whole number of traffic generation strategies and an incentive, an inducement to get people to come to the site and register for this call. So that's, just one example, but it's certainly important to drive qualified traffic. Now, let me get to your other one. Because I'm not entirely sure what kind of lifestyle I want. Well, what kind of lifestyles do most of my clients aspire to achieve? Well, that's easy. They want to own their own time, so not be beholden to a boss or be working in some job that's unsatisfying or soul-crushing work. One second. And they want the mobility and freedom to travel. And really, it comes down to, I think my definition of success is to be able to do what you want, when you want to, with whoever you please. You can sort of fill in the blanks from there in terms of what specific lifestyle you want. I can give you many examples of some of my clients travel from country to country, staying in nice hotels, and some of them, travel and do Airbnb and do house trades and, just do couch surfing, and they want to do the travel thing. Others, maybe have a family and want to find a way to make money doing something that they love and be able to spend more time with their family. So working from home and being able to be more present with their family and significant other and kids. So then that's a different lifestyle approach altogether. Regardless, I think it's all based on having a business that's run online and through the web so that you can be either at home with your family or, on the other side of the world on your laptop. And then to get more specific from there, it's really about the things that you're interested in, passionate about, and want to explore in greater depth. And I hope that answers one of your questions there, Corey. Sharon says, if you sign up for Google+, you can get the replacement for keyword tool called Keyword Planner. That's a good tip. Thanks, Sharon. And, Corey says, I'm still in college. Is University Incubator, which is my nonprofit, something I could use to get started with this? Maybe we can take that one offline. We are currently focused on the Bay Area, specifically UC Berkeley and University of San Francisco. And, I don't want to rule it out, but let's have a chat. Let's see. Vicky says, thank you for your answers. My pleasure, Vicky. So would you look at our business and make suggestions? For example, if a website needs to be redone and we have to hire a developer to fix it right. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're coming into business in a weekend with a business and maybe it's not optimal or you want to improve it, we can diagnose that right away from looking at hundreds of websites and being a prime mover in developing many, many websites. Got a pretty good idea right away on how to restructure and reformat and basically give a facelift and an overhaul to a site. Getting that done is going through the same process of hiring and managing contractors through Elance and through other talent platforms. And I myself have, a sort of a stable of teams that I work with consistently. So if you need some remedial work done, I can certainly help get that done quickly, cheaply, and great quality of work. Corey says, great answer. Thank you for spending time answering our questions. My pleasure, Corey. That is what I'm here for, man. Sharon says, did you say you went to UC Berkeley? Yes, I did. And you may be saying, I thought you were in a band when you were 21. Well, I actually went to school much later in life after founding over 3 businesses and selling one of them. I decided, I love learning so much that I want to go to school while I'm still in my 20s. So it's a whole other story, but I ended up transferring in and getting a degree from Berkeley in political economy and Chinese language and culture. So go Bears. Let's see. Dan says, I want to do freelancing work on top of creating a sustainable business. Are you able to set me in the right direction for freelancing work, such as NDAs and other things I'd need to do or consider? Yes, absolutely, Dan. There are 2 sides to the Elance and online talent platform equation. One, in my opinion, the preferable side is to be hiring people to build things and do work for you that is part of your overall business strategy. But the other is you can always offer your services online and you can get paid very well for doing anything from copywriting or sales and marketing work to graphic design to web programming, depending on what your specific skills are. So I'd be happy to give you some tips based on hiring and managing over 100 teams in any number of countries all around the world over the last 5 years and tell you how to perhaps structure your pitch to get hired for top dollar. And I'd be happy to talk about that too. Sharon says, I went to Berkeley too, but way before you. Well, Then we are both Cal alumni. Glad to hear it. Let's see. And Dan says, is it really true that it's rare to find someone that can do both graphic design and web programming? Because that's what I've been working hard to master. It is true. It's not impossible, but I almost think that they're complementary skill sets that two different people can provide, as opposed to, it's like left brain, right brain stuff. To be really creative and have a great sensibility for design is one thing. To be able to bang out code and create amazing, technically perfect websites or software is quite another. It's been my experience that I haven't found too many people that do both great. Many people can do both okay, but there's a lot of amazing designers out there, and there's a lot of incredible programmers out there. And if you hire each one separately, depending on what your skills are, or hiring, both designers and programmers and not doing any of the hands-on work yourself, you're going to save a lot of money, and you'll probably save a lot of frustration. So if that's what you've been working to master, one tip I'd say is to always focus on playing to your strengths instead of necessarily always strengthening your weaknesses. So I know what my strengths are. And if there's one thing that I'm really clear on, it's that I know how I want to show up and be involved in my business and what I don't want to be focused on and doing. So if I were going to focus on strengthening my weaknesses, I'd go take more programming classes. I'd learn more about video editing. If I'm going to play to my strengths, I'll get in front of the camera and do something direct to camera in one take and get it up and push it out to the world, instead of doing an elaborate, production with animations flying in and flashing lights and stuff going off. Similarly, I know that I'm great with ideas and strategy, and I've got a good idea for design in terms of what I'd want done, but I'm not a good designer in the sense that I don't really pull up Photoshop or Illustrator and do a lot of tactical design work myself. I can do enough to get to do mock-ups and show people what I want done, but I'm much better at hiring and managing people and giving direction and letting them do the thing that they're really good at and passionate about. So designing or programming, whatever it may be, that would be my advice. Let's see. Vicky says, I'm writing a book with Alicia. Awesome. She is awesome. Oh, yes, she is awesome. I have a series of books in retaining youthfulness and living healthy. Would you help me build a healing service with these books and programs? Oh, absolutely, Vicky. This is one. I applaud your authorship, and I encourage it. I think everybody at some point should sit down and try and write a book. It's quite a cathartic experience, very fun and rewarding as well, but time consuming, and really makes you get clear on what your core ideas and values are. Taking a book and turning it into training programs, service-based business, excellent as a credibility builder. I mean, having written a book called Lifestyle Entrepreneur, I feel especially entitled to have a business called Lifestyle Entrepreneurs Academy, and particularly qualified to fulfill my mission to inspire and instruct the next generation of lifestyle entrepreneurs. So that's something that anybody can do in terms of taking their book or a series of books on a topic or different topics and turning it into service or any sort of, I can give you the whole roadmap actually of how to take a book and turn it into different products and services at different price points, so you can meet people wherever they are and provide value to them for however deep they want to go in the learning and training that you provide. We'll absolutely be covering that in great detail in Business in a Weekend, Vicky. Got a question here from D. Hi. My question is, what time of day do the sessions take place? What time zone? And what do I do if they take place in the middle of the night here? Thanks for this webinar, by the way. My pleasure, D. And well, to answer your question, the webinars, the core training, the live modules, we go starting Friday evening all the way through to Sunday evening. And so depending on what time zone you're in, there's going to be some time when, it's your day and some time when it's in your evening. And hopefully not too much when it's in the middle of the night. If you really can't make some of the modules, they will all be recorded and published live to the online membership portal. So that's not a worry. And and I'm happy to forego my own sleep to make sure that you get the information you need over the course of the weekend, regardless of what time of day. But the core training would go from Friday evening Pacific time, so that's GMT -8, so Pacific Standard Daylight Time. And then Saturday, we're going to start at 10 a.m. Pacific and go until the evening, so 7 or 8 p.m. Same on Sunday. So we're covering, a 10-hour block of time, Pacific time, and that should overlap at least somewhere, no matter where you are in the world. Let's see. We have Opie, Opender. Hey, Opie, how are you doing? I've relocated. I didn't know you were on the call. Great to have you here. I've relocated, merging the different modalities I've learned. What I do now, no one on the island. What I do now, no one on the island does. What is the best way to market myself the most efficient way? That's a great question. I think I know what you do, Opie, but I won't. We don't have to speak to a specific. I can give you the general tips. Is to think of whatever you're doing and whatever you're focusing on. As long as you know that there is a market for it, even if you're the only one doing it in a place, is to find what are the complementary services, what are the complementary practices, products that people use, and then partnering to gain exposure to their audiences and let people know what you're up to and how you can help them if they're already self-selecting into some different type of training, some different type of product purchases, some different type of work, some different type of practice, if it's in the healing space. And so partnering and working through people that offer complementary or services that are reflective of what you do and the value you can provide, and then setting up some way that they can be compensated for introductions and or that you can speak to their audience, whether it's in person or through webinars, and just getting in front of the people that would benefit from what you do, and then telling your story and making your offer in a compelling way. Hope that helps, and I could have a lot more to say about that if you still have a question. D says, awesome, thank you. You are welcome, D. Opie says, thank you. You are also very welcome. We're going to have to wrap up pretty soon here, everybody. I see there's still about 50 or so people on the call. Really appreciate you all being here. And encourage you, if you found some value in what we've talked about today and want to take the leap, to enroll in Business in a Weekend simply by going to businessinAweekend.co/join, JOIN in lowercase letters. So I'll stay on the line for another couple moments if anybody else has questions. And, hope you all are just loving life today. Oh, we got a question here from Kathy. Would you help me with my 2 online businesses I'm developing? I have a grant website started, and my passion is healing, having an ebook ready to translate to start my healing business. So yes, the answer is yes, Kathy. I would be glad to help you with your 1, your 2 online businesses. Whatever you want, you bring it to Business in a Weekend, and I'm going to leave it all on the field. And I am very confident that having an idea of what you're working on, that I could give you some targeted advice and strategies and maybe even introductions to help facilitate your business growth and developing into these auxiliary areas, having a book and moving into a practice like a healing or in person, or having a book and moving into training or any other modality. So absolutely. Bo says, sorry for teasing you. I'm skeptical by nature. Me too, Bo. There's a lot of, I'm an optimistic guy. I don't like to disparage anybody, but there's a lot of people out there that peddle some pretty useless stuff. So if anything, I hope to differentiate myself by, being available and giving fully and transparently, offering programs and products and training at a free or a very fair price, and taking all the risk out of it by giving 100% money back guarantee. And so, look, I've got a thick skin. I've been at this for a while. No harm taken, no harm, no foul, Bo. And Sharon says, thank you very much. My pleasure, Sharon. Let's see. Vicky says, in the weekend, do you have a template so we know what to put on the website and the flow? Oh, yes, definitely, Vicky. Depending on, the specific focus, there are a couple best practices, whether it's a product business or a service business or an in-person practice or, an online information product. There's some best practices. And in terms of a template, well, I can show you the tools and the software and help you get some stuff designed that's unique and specific to you, as well as point you in the direction of where to get some I guess they would be templates, sort of ready to go sites and turnkey services to help get your existing business or your new idea off the ground and looking great. So I hope that helps. And Kathy says, thank you so very much. Well, you're very welcome, Kathy, and great to have you on the call. So let's see if anybody else has questions here. I love that they're coming in. Just to check in here, we've got over 120 questions people have asked, and I will keep answering them until they dry up. Or till we get cut off here from the GoToWebinar that's ending. Vicky says, thanks, Jesse. I like your hair. Can you guys see me? Did somebody hack my webcam here? No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate that. I am a man of many hairstyles throughout the years, from a mohawk that was half dyed red to pretty standard issue haircut, which I sport nowadays. But whichever one it was, thanks a lot, Vicky. And I think that's going to close us out. So would like to take another opportunity to thank everybody that joined us on this call. And I really hope that you got some value out of my book, Lifestyle Entrepreneur, and that I answered some or perhaps all of your questions on this call. And if you feel so inclined and you want to really take action towards building your business or improving your current business or stepping into a new field, taking ownership of your interests and passions and turning them into a business that impacts others and makes you an income doing what you love, Business in the Weekend is the program for you. So, head on over to businessinaweekend.co/join, enroll, and save your spot, because we've got 50 seats and they are going to be filling up pretty quickly. So if anybody else has questions, final one here. Kent says, I just got here and missed it, but I'll keep a lookout for more. Well, don't worry, Kent. I'll make sure to give you access to the replay so that you can go through and hear this entire 1 hour and 40-minute recording of training, question and answer, and describing Business in a Weekend in great depth. Greg says, thanks so much, Jesse. My pleasure, Greg. Glad to have you here. I'm going to close this off and wish you all a wonderful day, and to always go out and learn what you need to know, to do the things that you love to do, so you can be the person that you know you can be. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.